Hello.
Hello. Oh, who's that?
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, who's this?
This is Shantae Williams.
Okay. Glad you could join us. So,
Okay.
so far, you're it.
I'm sorry.
So far, you're the only student. So,
Oh, okay.
where do you live, Shantae?
I'm in Cleveland, Ohio.
Cleveland, Ohio?
Yes.
How's the weather?
We've actually had really good weather so far. Like the last week, we've been in like the 60s and 70s.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
That's good news.
Yeah, that really is. And we actually had a really good winter as well.
Well, I live in Central Florida, so it's always pretty good weather here.
Yeah. My kids just came back from Florida. They went to Florida for spring break.
Oh, where'd they go?
Well, they were supposed to had went to Disneyland. So what is that, Orlando?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Hello, my name is Florence Mays, and I just dialed up.
Okay. And is it Florence?
Florence Mays, Mays.
Okay. Glad you could join us. Let me,
Glad I
Hi,
could
Miss
be here.
Mays and Sante.
Hi, Shantae. How are you? Don't tell me you had a hideout. Two classmates. We're the rest of our classmates.
well, that's good. Everybody knows each other.
Yeah, we know each other.
Okay, I got to get the PowerPoint up here. Get it working. Give me another minute here and we'll be ready to get started.
Okay.
And Florence, where are you from?
Orangeburg, South Carolina. I'm about 45 minutes from Columbia.
Okay. I know where that is on I-95.
Yeah, I-95, 26, 95,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, 33, Highway 33.
Yeah.
Rural South Carolina. This is a small college town.
Oh, neat.
But I'm originally from New York. I'm a New Yorker. I was
Oh,
born and raised in New York. And I'm down here because this is my parents' home. My mom and dad was from this part of the country.
mm-hmm.
So he passed on, and I'm just down here.
Oh.
Probably retired here because I'm 68 years young.
Oh,
Praise the Lord. Back in school.
good for you. You're about
Yes, I just enjoyed every minute of it. And Shantae, we've been in a few classes together, so we're pretty familiar with one another.
well. It's good to have somebody close to my age for once.
Yeah, it's good to have. Well, that's good to know. That's very good because we're the grandparents.
Right. That's right.
Grandparents back to school. You're a teacher and I'm a student, so it's good to relate to someone who's closer to your age. The baby boomer.
Yeah.
Shantae, you wouldn't know anything about that. The baby boomer.
what was it?
That was so cute when we had the class and we were talking about the Cadillacs and the old, fancy cars. It was so stupid.
All
That was
cars,
so leadership class. That was good, interesting.
all the cars with the big wings on them, and
Yes.
well, here's how I do it. Looks like you two are it. What I do is I go ahead and mute your microphone, and then at the end, if you have questions, I'll open it back up for discussion. So
Okay.
I'm going to go ahead and mute you now. So. And let's go ahead and start the week 1 live meeting for business law. And we're only covering chapter 1 this week. And it's kind of unusual, usually we have 2 chapters that we cover in the courses. And we only cover chapter 2 next week. And after that, then we'll have two chapters usually a week. And the authors like to start this discussion, what we're talking about here, and it may surprise you if you've read the information there, that there is a difference in what is legal and what is ethical. And it may surprise you to learn that there are certain things that are legal that may be unethical, and there are certain ethical things that are illegal. So they really are not the same. And a good way to describe the difference is the law is what you should do or must do, and ethics is what you should do. And so they are very different, and we'll illustrate that in a minute. Now, we're applying it to business, to the business climate today. And the one area that is, we should say, the most important development is, as we've seen in recent years, the development of these multinational businesses. And we're all familiar with their names, that they have become so large that many of them do business in countries all over the world. And these large corporations pretty much dominate our economic life. And we're going to talk about are there any ethical challenges that these companies have to deal with. And the example that the authors give you is this Yanni versus Biggin. And you notice that this is, and also throughout the course, you're going to see many of the principles and issues we'll discuss are going to be illustrated with an actual legal case. And so when you see the this designation where it shows a case title and it shows you where the case was decided and gives you the year that it was decided. And the this Yanni versus Biggin case is what we lawyers like to call a landmark case. There are certain cases throughout the years that just take on a little more importance for the decision that they rendered. And many times these cases continue to be good law many years later. And what the issue in Yanni versus Biggin is, do we as individuals have a legal duty to help another who is in distress in an emergency situation? Do we legally have to help someone who is in has been in an accident has in an emergency, and really what are our obligations. The issues, the facts in Yanni are that Yanni was helping Mr. Biggin, who owned property, and we're never, it's not explained to us what kind of property it is, but the property has canals running through it. And these canals are full of water, and many of the canals are, the water's controlled by the use of a pump. And Mr. Biggin was a property owner and owned this land. Yanni was an adjoining property owner, and he had come over just voluntarily to help Mr. Biggin with a faulty pump. And Yanni and I believe another individual climbed up on the top of the canal and were working on the faulty pump. At some point, Yanni lost his balance. He fell into the canal. There evidently were very deep canals, and he drowns. The issue is, does Mr. Biggin have any legal responsibility for Mr. Yanni's death? Mr. Yanni's widow files a suit against Mr. Biggin and alleges that he's at fault, that he should have attempted to save Mr. Yanni, and that he had a legal duty to help someone like Yanni. The court holds that no, Mr. Biggin does not have a legal duty to help somebody that's in a difficult situation. That there's no legal obligation to help somebody when they are in difficulty. Now, the difference is, and why we contrast the two, is there may be an ethical responsibility on Mr. Biggin's part. What we're saying is he just can't be legally liable for Mr. Yanni's accident. That you may feel personally that you have an obligation, and many people do. You see examples all the time where they're just recently in our community here, an individual who was trapped in a burning car after an accident. Many passerbyers stopped and attempted to help the individual get out of the car, and of course are risking their own safety in doing this, and that there's really no legal obligation for them to do that. That their obligation is to call 911, hope that the police and the emergency personnel are able to, they are legally obligated to help someone. So, but you see it all the time where an individual volunteers to help somebody in a difficult situation. Well, how do we apply this to the multinational corporations? These large corporations that I mentioned that pretty much dominate our lives. And the issue is, there really are two theories that govern corporations. And the traditional theory has been what is known as the free market theory. And the free market theory was advocated by a world-renowned economist, Milton Friedman. And Mr. Friedman's theory was the corporation, the officers, owners of the corporation, only owe a duty to their shareholders. That the corporation is set up to make a profit, and that's what these officers and directors have to do, that they're obligated to make to be able to earn a profit for their stockholders, and that's the limit of their legal duty. And the authors give you a statement by Mr. Friedman, and it's on page 10. And I want to read the description. And this is his description of the free market theory. In a free market private property system, a corporate executive is the employee of the owners of the business. He has a direct responsibility to his employers. That responsibility is to conduct the business in accordance with their desires, which generally will be to make as much money as possible while conforming to the basic rules of society, both those embodied in law and those embodied in ethical custom. In a free society, there is only one social responsibility of business: to use its resources and engage in activities designed to increase its profit as long as it stays within the rules of the game, which is to say, engages in open and free competition without deception or fraud. So his definition is very simple, that the corporation is to only conduct itself as a profit-making enterprise. Now, recently in our society, there's been a movement and a change in this philosophy. And Mr. Friedman's theory is the traditional business, the way businesses are operated. The more modern interpretation is that business owes a responsibility not just to make a profit, but to society in general, and that they are to conduct their business to benefit society. And these are the two theories that continue to be debated as to really what is the obligation of businesses today. The basis for the new theory is a ethical theory called utilitarianism. And utilitarianism simply says that whatever is good for the population in general, that is what we should do. That we should try as much as we can, the concept really of the common good, that we should, in government, in our business, in society, try to support what is good for the society in general. This, of course, is direct opposite of Mr. Friedman's free market enterprise, which says the officers, the directors, owe only a responsibility to make a profit. So both of these theories have clashed. It continues to be an issue. Another ethical theory that's developed called deontology is the idea that there are certain kinds of truths that exist from the beginning, from as long as human beings have been on the earth, that there are certain truths that we all should conduct ourselves on. Again, adding to the concept that business does owe an obligation to its society. Now, one issue that has become very important and really is a political issue at this point is many of these multinational corporations have moved their operations, their manufacturing, two underdeveloped countries in the world. And the goal here is, as we all know, to hire the cheap labor in these countries and to increase their profits by manufacturing their goods in these underdeveloped companies. And there are many examples of this. Many of the automakers have moved to underdeveloped countries. The Nike company, who make the running shoes and sports equipment, have gotten into trouble, bad publicity, as to the hiring of these lower paid workers. And is this what these companies should be doing? That what happens is they're moving from the United States and they're costing American workers jobs, because in these other countries there are very few labor regulations, and the employees, of course, are going to work for a lower wage than American workers. So this has become an important issue recently. Now, the chapter concludes our discussion for the first week is another case called McSparran versus Larson. And this is a more recent case, and it was decided in 2008. And the issue here involves the obligation of the directors of a corporation to the good of the corporation. And what happened is, this is the corporation was known as CEC, and it was a similar operation to Remington College. It was a for-profit college that operated in conducting a business school and had students all over the United States. And the problem became that there were allegations that the directors were inflating the number of students that the company had, with the goal of showing more income. And what happens is, when the directors of a company declare that they have a certain amount of income, this then makes their stock more valuable. And that Wall Street, the stock analysts, will value their stock at a larger amount. And that the allegations were that the directors, by falsifying the income that the company was receiving, were committing fraud, and that this was damaging the corporation, and they're only looking out for their personal interests, because this would improve their stock price. And that when they got ready to sell, they of course would make large profits on the sale of their stock. Now, Mr. McSparran is a stockholder of the CEC Corporation, and he brought what is known as a stockholders' derivative suit. And what this means is, any stockholder of a corporation who feels that the directors, the officers, are acting not in the best interest of the corporation, can go into court and file a lawsuit on behalf of the corporation, so that Mr. McSparran is representing the corporation against these directors and officers who he's alleging are committing fraud. this shareholders derivative suit allows any stockholder to do that. And in the case, the court considered his allegations as to whether there were misstatements of the income. The court held that the directors had not committed fraud. And in their decision, they developed what's called the business judgment rule. And what the business judgment rule says is, as long as these directors were operating with only the knowledge that they had at the time, that there really was no evidence of fraud, that they were making decisions based on their best business judgment. That's the reason for the rule, that they should not be liable under this shareholders derivative suit. And it kind of illustrates also, in addition to bringing up the issue, that are these directors being loyal to their own corporation, and that the issue becomes, if they are not loyal, then they're liable for the fraud. But the court looked at the facts and considered the issues and felt that the board had operated to the best of its ability. And so the corporation's directors won the suit. Mr. McSparron's lawsuit was dismissed. And again, I think the authors want to show you these kinds of lawsuits are very hard to win, that there is a presumption in the law that the directors are operating in the best interest of the corporation. And so it's very difficult to prove this kind of case. And I think that's one reason that they put it in here, to illustrate to you that these issues can arise, but it's very hard to prove the liability of the directors. I'm going to conclude the live meeting at this point. And Shante, do you have any questions?
Hello?
Are you there? Shante?
Shante, hello?
Hello, are you there?
Yes?
Did you have any questions?
No, I don't. This is Miss Mays. I'm just listening to the different cases.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have any questions about the cases.
Okay.
And what I do have a question about is the multinational discussion that we had to write about. So far, it's just Shante and myself in the class, and you said that we are expected to comply with 2 classmates, right?
Yes.
So this is just going to be between Shante and myself, just writing back our responses?
Yes.
Okay.
There are supposed to be 4 students in the class, and I don't know what these students sign up for these classes, and then they never show up.
Okay.
And I'm going to
right.
Yeah, I'm going to get in touch with the 2 that have not posted anything. But as long as it's just the 2 of you, you just respond.
Can you hear me now?
Are you there?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I'm hearing everything you are saying. I'm like, hello, hello. Okay.
This is Florence?
Yeah, I'm on. I'm listening. I hear Shante now. I can hear her. Okay. Yeah.
So both of you can hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up, because I was going to send you an email explaining. I usually wait a couple days this first week just to see if people show up. And you're right. If only if you two are the only participating members of the class, then you just respond to each other's discussion,
Okay.
and you get
Yeah,
you get full credit for.
yeah. It's very interested. You know, I read her post and I read your comment, and I'm saying, how are we supposed to keep, you know, to respond to at least two of our classmates when it's just Shantae and myself. So you are expecting two more students, you're saying, to attend the class?
Yeah, I'm hoping. I'm going to contact them, and again, if they don't respond, then we'll just go on with the two of you in the class.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. The cases that you read,
Mm-hmm.
the two cases, you asked if we had any questions about the ruling,
Yeah.
and what you mentioned, the last statement you mentioned about with dealing with the shareholders and the company heads, corporate heads,
Mm-hmm.
and when you start getting into what's right, ethically right, and what's, you know, what the rules are, that's kind of confusing because
Yeah.
it's so much involved. You know what I'm saying?
Well, you're right.
It's statute.
What you're right about is that there is kind of a fine line here as to what's legal and what's ethical. And there are differences of opinion as to where that line is. And
Right.
and I think.
And how could you
go ahead.
have an honest opinion when you don't know all aspects of the situation? You're not there. You're not in the board meetings. You're not there in the company. And we're just looking at cases and looking at reading what's presented to us.
Yeah.
And like you said, it's very involved, very intricate, you know?
Well, it also, the other problem is that you only have just a little part of the case.
Yes, exactly.
And if you're interested, you probably can find the full case online if you'd like to read further and get some of the other information, because that's the other difficulty, and you'll find this through the course, that we're only going to have a couple of paragraphs when many of the cases are like pages long. So
exactly.
Yeah, we just
just reading some of those things, they're really interesting, though.
Well, I think
there's a lot of stuff that just goes on.
Well, I think the authors gave you that McSparran case just to show some of the issues that are involved in a corporation, and what can happen when there may be some question about, are the directors being honest with the shareholders?
Shareholders.
Yeah.
Right. The share. One case I was reading about, and it really hit me home because I was in New York at the time, and when you said, do we have the obligation to get involved when we see a person in distress?
The girl that got stabbed.
Yeah, the lady Genevieve in Queens, New York. Yeah. That's too far from where I live in the area.
Oh.
And when the story broke years ago, and so many people heard this woman screaming, and no one acted, you know, and the man, not only did he stab her once, but he left her, and then he came back, and he continued doing the act, and no one still got involved. And then you ask the question, are we morally responsible? As an individual, most people would have driven by somebody in a burning car. They would say, it's not my problem. They may or may not have called 911, but the average person is not going to stop and get involved. And then what about the ones who risk their lives to get involved? You know, and when the man fell into the water, you know, the canal, and he drowned. And then they said, well, the other party helped to help him. And he realized that if I try to help him, I might drown too.
Yeah.
what I'm saying. There's
Yeah.
so many risks involved. But when do you draw the line when you say morally and ethically? Do you feel that you are obligated, that you have to help someone in distress? That's the question. Should you?
I think it's a personal. I think it's a personal decision. You have to make
Yes.
a decision for yourself. The issue is that you're not legally obligated. But I know.
If you're not in the medical field, you don't. They tell you do not move a person because you don't know
Right.
what you could break, what bones or what other injuries you can add to what this situation is. So they say if you're not medically in the medical community, by all means, do not touch the patient, the person. And then who wants to give mouth-to-mouth resuscitation when you don't know if the person have AIDS or whatnot? Hello?
Yes.
So, it's a lot of questions here.
Yeah.
You want to help a lot of times, but the average person don't want to get involved. They don't want with the police. They don't get involved with that because they're afraid of retaliation.
Right.
Okay? A lot of people are afraid that I may do more harm to the victim than, just call 911 and let them take over
Right.
in those particular cases. But now when you get back to the business world, this is a whole different scenario.
Yeah.
This is a whole different seat now because you would just get little excerpts of cases, and how could we really make a concrete evaluation of something that we don't know all the information
Right.
about?
Well, we're going to
Now-
talk more about it in the other chapters. So
Okay.
let's go ahead and call it a day and end the meeting. And you all have a good weekend, and we'll plan on. And
Nice talking to you. Nice
Okay.
meeting you.
you too. And
And if I don't understand something, I will be calling you.
you do that. I'm available.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.
All right. Bye bye.
Bye.